What is up, YouTube? Bitch Boy Millsy. Back with Hometown Commander. Back for another episode of Millsy Brews, the show where I brew my version 1.0 deck list of the Commander in front of us on my quest out brew magic world. As always, the deck list is going to be down in the description for y'all, as well as I would greatly appreciate if you could interact with the video, like, comment, subscribe, do all that great YouTube stuff. Check out the links in the description. Today, we're going to cover a commander that I doubt needs an introduction. This is a card that's sweeping its way through multiple formats at the moment, and a card that is a literal powerhouse of value. What I tried to do my best here was to try to just brew it in a way that I think would try to be somewhat fun. I think this is going to be a brutal commander to play because once somebody sees what it does, it's going to turn the game into a nightmare for probably the rest of the table. And so I'm sure people are going to download this video without even watching it. I completely understand the card has its reputation. But today we're talking about Nadu, Winged Wisdom, a 3-mana 3/4 bird wizard with flying. It says creatures you control have, whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. This ability triggers only twice each turn. There's a lot of ways we could take this deck, but what I've tried to do to make it, I guess, somewhat less oppressive, which is an odd phrase to come out of my mouth when talking about a Simic deck, is to try to spin slightly more into Landfall to make this a Landfall deck instead of a go infinite on triggers type deck. I guess that's my hope. Just try to make it a little more palatable that way. I still think this is a great commander in the sense that it's very strong. It's going to be very easy to make this very strong. And so why not try to tinge it that way to make it a little more fun? So we're going to talk about all the ways we're going to try to get cheap Nadu triggers. We're going to talk about Landfall. We're going to talk about ways to end the game. I mean, in any route, Simic decks are very good at creating value. The question is, how are we going to win the game in the long run? Well, as far as cheap triggers goes, there's a lot of ways to approach this. I mean, you have things like Elvish Herder that for green mana can give a creature trample. This is going to look a lot like the equipment we're going to talk about on the next few pages, where you're paying a mana to target something and getting a Nadu trigger. We want as many of these as possible, especially repeatable where we can get them. Seeker of Skybreak can untap target creature. Again, this is only one that we'd get each turn, but again, it's important to get a high density of these things that can target at least once per turn, if not more. Sylvan Safekeeper can sack a land to give a creature Shroud. This works double duty. One, it's protection, right? Especially for Nadu, which is going to try to get taken off the board as soon as possible. But in the mid to late game, we're going to have way too many lands for our own good, and Sylvan Safekeeper will let us leverage them to protect the things that we need to protect. Sway of Illusion seems like kind of fun. Any number of target creatures you control become the color of your choice until end of turn. Draw a card. This is effectively going to target our entire board once, which is going to get a ton of Nadu triggers and do exactly what we want to do. You'll notice that because of this deck existing, and we're going to talk about when we get to the spot at the end, there are a couple of these cards that have gone way up in price, and so I've excluded them from the deck, but Sway was still a half-decent price when I looked at it. Adventuring Gear, 1 mana, equip 1. Whenever a land comes in, equip creature takes +2/+2 till end of turn. This feels like a potential way to not only get a bunch of triggers, right, because it equips for just 1 mana, but to make Nadu with threat in the air. If we get a big turn where we drop 6 or 7 lands, congratulations, you now have +12, +14 on a creature if it stays there the entire time. That feels like something that could help us end the game, potentially. Bonesaw, a 1 mana equip. Again, start spreading around all your creatures, get those triggers. Lava Spur Boots, Lightning Greaves, Paradise Mantle. These are all equipment that equip for 1 or 0 when possible. Again, just to be spread around, get the triggers. The goal here is cheap to get down, cheap to repeat, so that we can get these abilities down and get them rolling. Well, Shuko is the card that has spiked in price and become a modern staple in that deck, right? 1 mana, just equip 0. This is the card that, in all reality, most people, view as breaking Nadu, right? And it's going to get pretty oppressive when you have it, meaning being able to play this for 1 mana and then just for 0 mana being able to double trigger everything on your board for Nadu trigger. Swiftfoot Boots, same thing, a little bit of protection and that 1 mana repeatable cost. Umbral Mantle, 3 mana cost, 0 equip, but it does give the option for a creature to untap if we do have some mana, tappers that we want to untap for things. But really, it's just here for that 0 equip cost, again, to be repeatable. So those are the cheap targets. Let's get into the Landfall. We have things like a Vendor of Zendikar, making the plants when it comes in. You know and you love AOZ. Puts a counter on each plant whenever a land comes in. Bristly Bill is what could turn Nadu into a threat against a lot of things. Whenever a land comes in, put a +1/+1 counter to our creature. Whether we soup up Nadu or something else, we can make our creatures pretty big. I think the real goal with Bristly is to spread out the counters so you can use its bottom ability to just double the amount of counters on all your creatures. I could really see it and Nadu becoming a combination where you just get counters on all your creatures and all these extra lands coming in just pay for more and more Bristly Bill triggers. Lotus Cobra. Whenever a land comes in, add a mana of any color. This is going to double up, basically, right? The amount of mana we're getting in return, because these lands that we're putting on the battlefield untapped, unless they come in tapped with their own abilities from off Nadu's triggers, are going to net us an extra mana. Rampaging Bailoff makes those 4/4 beasts. Scoot Swarm either makes insects or copies of itself, again, to give us more of this landfall value. Royal Elemental, I thought, could be fun. Whenever a land comes in, you can just gain control of target creature for as long as you control Royal Elemental. Take your opponent's board, use it against them. Again, help push towards that win as soon as you start demonstrating how much value you can really make. Tadiova gaining a life and drawing a card. Tyler's Provisioner getting us either a food or a treasure. Gives us the option to get a bunch of mana with treasures, or get so many foods that we could potentially just out-life gain our threats that way. Springheart Nantuko is a really fun one, and another card that's being targeted here with Nadu, especially in formats. It has landfall. Whenever a land enters battle under your control, you can pay 1 in the green. If this is attached to a creature we control, because it has Bestow, you can just create a copy of that creature. Otherwise, you make a 1/1 insect. Get this on something like Lotus Cobra or Tireless Provision, or one of these non-legendary creatures that has a great landfall ability or a great ability in general, and you're just going to start to print value, and that 2 mana cost really isn't that big of a deal when it comes to the cost to kind of play ball here and get value. Retreat to Kazandu and Roaring Earth, more copies of that Bristly Bill style ability where we can just put counters on creatures, and so that way they can get bigger and bigger, and then Zendikar's Royal making us elementals. So here you go, just a bunch of landfall triggers, a bunch of ways we're going to take advantage of it. I know I'm kind of glossing over this here, but the truth is, if you've played enough landfall decks, you kind of know what I'm targeting here, and you know what to expect from a deck like this. Well, let's talk about ending the game. What's really funny about this is we're going to talk about this 2 ways. The green way you'd expect to end the game, and then the blue way you'd expect to end the game. So we have Jace and Lab Maniac here that both say, if you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. This is here because there's going to come a time where you could potentially hit through so many Nadu triggers that you draw your deck out. Jace has the -8 that lets you draw 7 cards, then if your library has you win the game, so it can help. But the truth is, Nadu is going to start running through your deck, and you need a way to think about ending the game before you run through your entire deck. This gives us 2 ways to do that. Finale of Devastation lets us, 1, go search for Lab Maniac if we need to, or 2, just go get any other creature. It comes in, and if X is 10 or more, plus X, and haste until end of turn. Could be a way to just spend a turn getting all of these tokens off these landfall abilities. Finale for 10, get a random creature, +10/+10, and haste to the entire board, or whatever we want to go get, and just end the game out right here. Again, the point is finding ways to just end the game after we demonstrate we have all the value. Overwhelming Stampede, +X, and X. +X and Trample, where X is the greatest power among creatures we control. Again, could make a big combat, help us in the game. Garruk's Uprising can give all of our creatures Trample again, so if we go wide with those abilities, especially with the Bristly Bill +1/+1 counters, angle. This is another way to turn that into whether opponents can block or not. We're still going to pump through for a ton of damage. I've said it before on the show, and I'll say it again. No deck's ever complete. This is my version 1.0. This is my first shot at it. And there were 2 cards specifically I wanted to put in the deck, but I didn't solely because of the price of the actual card. It's funny to talk about price of a deck on a deck that a lot of people are going to be considered to be a broken deck. But the truth is, some people are not going to want to build this deck because of the price of certain cards. One of them is Nissa Resurgent Animist, 3 mana, 3/3. It says whenever a land comes in, add 1 mana of any color. And if it's the second time, reveal cards from the top into an L for Elemental and put it into your hand. This is a great card, another copy of that Lotus Cobra style effect, but this is a very expensive card, and so some people wouldn't want to play it for that. Sea King's Blessing is the example of what I talked about earlier, where this card is spiked to about $60 the last time I checked because of Nadu. Changes the color of 1 or more target creatures to blue until end of turn. You choose which and how many creatures are affected. So again, 1 blue mana, target your entire board once, bunch of Nadu triggers. And then if you notice that you're always getting to these big board states, and again, you need a way to find that Lab Maniac or find some of that other stuff, Invasion of Ikoria, go gets a creature your choice, puts it onto the battlefield, where you pay into X. Again, just brutal, a great way to get the things that you need. But again, at some point, you kind of have to stop beating the dead horse and end the game, and I think abilities like this will help you do that. But let's get into our playtest. I'm going to do my best to show off Nadu, and kind of, if you have yet to see Nadu work or you have yet to understand what Nadu is, I'm hoping that this will help you to some degree. Tangled Islet, we'll put it down in tap since we do a turn 1 play in the Elvish Herder, but in all reality, we probably don't mind it just being our turn 2 play either. We'll get the Hinterland Harbor down and play that Elvish Herder. Turn 3, we'll get the Dreamroot Cascade down in, get Nadu down. Unfortunately, no self-trigger here because we don't have the mana, but that's okay. Next turn with that Elvish Herder and having 4 sources of green mana, we could definitely go off. And so if no one has a removal for you on turn 3 of the game, now we're going to have some fun. So we could Sway of Illusion, but I think it just makes more sense to just use Elvish Herder's ability 4 times. So we'll target each of them twice, and I'll kind of show you what this looks like. So we're going to target Nadu, look at the top card. If it's a land, congratulations, it goes on the battlefield. Trigger 2, it's not, so it goes into hand. Trigger 3, it's not, so it goes into hand. Trigger 4, it's not, so it goes into hand. So we do have to run the risk, right, of running out of cards in our hand, at some point, right? But again, we got an extra land that turn, so I guess there could have been a reason to use the illusion. But that's okay. Again, I don't mind leaving a small amount of value on the table here. The question becomes, what do we pitch? I know Unctus has a few combos with it. We'll pass on it for now. Royal Elemental feels like a great way to end the game, so we'll keep it there. And I'll pitch the Pongify just because, for the purposes of this playtest, I'm just showing you Nadu's ability. I would keep the Pongify, obviously, in an actual game because of the actual removal for it. But okay, let's do this. Play the Provisioner. Yes, it takes away a little bit of mana from the triggers, but now we can net treasures. This is going to net us a treasure when this island comes in, and I'm just going to leave it there. So 3 mana available plus the treasure. Now Sway of Illusion makes more sense because we're getting 3 triggers for 2 mana, right? So we'll tap these 2. Sway of Illusion, targeting all 3 of them, drawing a card. Now we have all 3 triggers, right? First one, forest, next one to hand, next one to hand. Make another treasure, right, with treasures. Now 2 mana and 2 more. Now we have to think about, right, not running out of, right, the cards in our hand, not wanting to discard again. So we'll put Lotus Cobra down. We got 2 more mana here. I would just go ahead, since all of our creatures have only been targeted once, let's just do it, get 2 more triggers. Finhorn Elves to hand, Lab Maniac to hand. Okay, so we kind of missed, which is unfortunate, but hey, that's going to happen, right, from time to time. I guess we'll just chuck Tireless Striker at this point. Again, you can kind of see, I think I don't need to go another turn. We'll go another turn. But you can kind of see now where we're just going to start profiting off of getting more and more of these triggers. Draw for turn. Flooded Grove for turn gets me a treasure, and we'll just net a green mana for the Herder just in case we need to use it. Do I have any other landfall abilities I want to slam down before I start doing this? If our opponents have a good board state here, I could see Royal Elemental right now, just to start those triggers going off. But if not, I would probably just Scooty. That's 3 mana, so we've still got 5 mana and the treasure left, so that's 6. So let's start. Pay the treasure to target Lotus Cobra, not a land in hand. We'll keep going. Trigger 2, trigger 3. That's a Field of the Dead, so that comes in. We'll net another green mana. We'll net a treasure, and then we will 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 net a zombie with that, and then we'll net a copy of Scoot Swarm, right? So that was trigger 3. We added another land. We have another green floating, so we'll use it. Trigger 4 is a Farseek. Trigger 5, a Roaring Stampede. Trigger 6, Cassandra. 7, land. Again, Scooty. doesn't have a name different. Okay, it doesn't matter. We still gets it anyway. So another zombie, another treasure, and another mana from the Cobra. And then I would just use a couple of our remaining mana to get some things out of our hand, so that we don't have to discard too much down to hand size. Again, Kazandu, Snake Sky. I think you kind of see the point. Build up a big board, keep using the triggers for fun. I'm not going to play that out. I think you could kind of see where we're going. So let's set it up again and at least look it out. So Temple of Mystery, turn 1, hit the scry. We'll keep the land on top. Turn 2, we will play the Follower. Again, we could also do the Swiftfoot Boots, but I don't really mind it too much there. Turn 3, playing the Nadu, and we could tap this to untap a land to leave up a green for Snakeskin Veil, or technically, could we? Tap it to basically just untap a land. I would just leave up. I was trying to think if we could untap Nadu, but it's not tapped, so I don't think we can target anything this turn. But land for turn, Swiftfoot Boots. We'll get two targets here this turn. 1, 2. Untap. Let's see. Untap a forest to do another one. Okay, and then we're at 7, so we're good to go there. That's just basically bouncing Swiftfoot Boots back and forth, to get that ability. Another island here. I guess we could have... Yeah, I don't really see the point of trying to get Royal Elemental or Balos here before we start. But let's see. What would we want to do this turn? I'd say let's start with a trigger to hand. Trigger 2, land in. So we've got 5. Untap Cura for 6. Another one for an AOZ. Growth Spiral to get that expanse down. I think we've got enough mana to put the Displacer Kitten down. Again, just trying to avoid the hand size fun that could happen. Here, 5 mana, 3 left over. I think here is where you could start either getting the Bayless or the Elemental down, or we could just take a big Doppelgang here and do that. The fun part about Displacer Kitten is that you could bounce Nadu and bring it back in to kind of reset this clock of creatures getting targeted and drawing cards. I think there's more than enough here to demonstrate that we could keep having fun. I really don't want to beat this combo to death, because it's one of those combos in already where you're just going to start and you're either going to go till you fail, or you're going to do the Simic thing where you just leave your board state with enough value to just outvalue the table. But let me know, what do you think of Nadu down in the comment section below? Are you going to try this one out? What do you think of it? I like the idea of it. I'm intrigued to finally play against it on the tabletop if anyone I know builds it. But otherwise, I'm good. Nadu seems interesting, but I know it's going to garner a lot of hate. But let me know, what do you think of Nadu down in the comment section below? And we'll catch you guys next time.